Good morning and welcome. Come on, you can do better than that. Good morning. All right, thank you. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Clemson. My name is David Sanders, and my pronouns are he and him. I am a member of the worship associate team, among other things that I do. And we want to humbly acknowledge and honor that we are located on the historical lands of the Eastern Cherokee and Southern Iroquois nations. As Unitarian Universalists, we are a religious community grounded in the values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, with liberating love at the center. All are welcome here, regardless of religious background, political persuasion, ethnicity, age, ability, sexual orientation, or gender identity or expression. If you're visiting us for the first time today, whether in person or online, hello online viewers, welcome. If you're in person and you'd like to stand up and introduce yourself, if you're a first-time visitor or second or third, please allow a moment for us to get the microphone to you so everyone could hear you. Do we have anyone that would like to introduce themselves? Yes? Okay. Right over here.
Hello, thank you. I think I'm Chrissy Morrissey, and we moved to Seneca within the last year, almost exactly, and have been wanting and meaning to come to a Unitarian church. So here I am. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Welcome, Chrissy. Glad to have you. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you, Reverend Holly. In this space, you're invited to engage with worship in ways that feel comfortable for you. That might include activities such as coloring, knitting, or playing with fidget toys, getting up and moving your body as you need to, clapping your vocal responses, or remaining still and quiet throughout the service. This is your service. Make it yours. After the service, we gather for coffee and social connection in our social room at the end of the hall to the left as you're walking there. Please join us afterwards if you're able. If you're interested in receiving our weekly connection newsletter or learning more about our faith and fellowship, you can reach out to the office or check our website at uufc.org. I have some exciting announcements today. The first one being that tomorrow we'll begin the installation of our solar panels that we've been working on. That means we will have a slight inconvenience on Monday and Tuesday in entering and accessing the front door of this building. But I appreciate your patience and tolerance as we work through that. And by Wednesday, there will still be some interior work being done, but the door access should be fine. I don't know that I think we have to have an inspection after the installation is complete, but I'm hoping we can have power on by the end of this month. Also, 1 week from today, October 19th, in this sanctuary here, our shared ministry committee will be hosting a listening session for your ideas about building our beloved community together through many ways of our ministry here at UUFC. So contact Cindy Lee if you have questions or want more information. Our board is recruiting several leadership positions, including president-elect, shared ministry, and our nominating committee. So contact Carl Dieter or Chin-Fu Chen or Leslie Visage if you are interested. Leslie's in the back here. Hold your hand up a little higher. Thank you. And Chin-Fu is right there. Okay. Carl's not here today. As we come in, okay, now it's Reverend Holly's turn for opening words.
Yes. I would like to also extend you a warm welcome this morning. As Dave said, I'm Reverend Holly Brown. and I am the settled minister here at UUFC. And it is so wonderful to see so many of you here today. Our opening words come from Reverend Scott Tyre, and I invite you into this space of worship with these words. Come into this circle of compassion and care. Bring your worry and wounds, your longing and hopes. With word and song, we rekindle the connection that mends what has been torn. With stillness and the space to pause, to restore our strength for the work that must be done, the work of love, the work of peace, the work of repair, the work of remembering that we are not alone. Let us begin. And in the spirit of beginning our time of worship together, I invite you to rise in mind, body, or spirit in whatever way is comfortable for you, to join in singing number 123, Spirit of Life. And we're going to sing it 2 times through today.
And now we have the time to light our chalice and say our words of affirmation. And I'll invite Cody to come up and light the chalice for us as we share and join in together and say our words of affirmation. Thank you, Cody. All right, together, we gather together as in the spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth with freedom, and to care for one another. Okay. Now we have Karen for the time for all ages.
This morning's story was originally intended to be more of an Earth Day sort of story, but I think as I tell the story for you, you'll begin to understand that it has an awful lot to do with compassion as well. So this morning's story is Apple and Magnolia by Laura Gell and Patricia Mottola. Britta's 2 favorite trees, Apple and Magnolia, were best friends. Britta couldn't explain how she was so sure about the friendship or how the trees had become best friends in the first place, but deep down in her heart, she knew it was true. Britta visited the trees every day. She watched Apple give Magnolia gifts and saw Magnolia wave at Apple. Britta danced along as the two trees swayed together under the stars. Dad said nicely that he didn't think trees could be friends. Bronwyn said, not as nicely, that trees absolutely positively could not be friends. But Nana said that unusual friendships can be the most powerful of all. Then one day, Magnolia's branches started to droop. Her bark grew patchy and gray. Her leaves turned brown instead of yellow. Dad said nicely that he didn't think Magnolia would survive the winter. Bronwyn said, not as nicely, that Magnolia absolutely positively would not survive the winter. But Nana asked if Britta had a plan to help Magnolia. Britta did. She tied a string with 2 cups so that Apple could hear Magnolia's sighs and Magnolia could hear Apple's sweet whistling songs. And Britta wrapped a long scarf between the 2 trees so that they could feel each other's warmth through the cold winter months. One morning, Britta looked at the limp string. She hung a strand of lights between Magnolia and Apple so that they could see each other even on moonless nights. One morning, Britta looked at the limp string, the sagging scarf, and the drooping lights. Was it her imagination, or were the 2 trees closer together than they had been before? Britta measured the distance between Magnolia and Apple. Each morning, she measured again. Dad said nicely that he didn't think the trees were growing toward each other. Bronwyn said, not as nicely, that the trees absolutely positively were not growing toward each other. But Nana helped Britta make a chart. The measurements were definitely getting smaller. And deep down in her heart, Britta felt a seed of hope start to grow. In the spring, Apple's small pink flowers arrived right on time, but Magnolia's didn't. But every day, Britta's measurements grew smaller and smaller, and her hope grew stronger and stronger. When Magnolia's first blossom appeared, Britta's hope blossomed too. And when hundreds of pink magnolia flowers burst into bloom at last, Britta made pink necklaces for both trees to celebrate. Dad said, nicely, that he didn't think Apple had helped Magnolia survive the winter. Bronwyn said, not as nicely, that Apple absolutely positively had not helped Magnolia survive the winter. But Nana said unusual friendships can be the most powerful of all. And deep down in her heart, Britta knew it was true.
This is the time that we set aside for our offering in order to give toward the financial vitality of this community. 25% of our undesignated collection each week goes to an organization in the local community that we partner with. For the month of October, we're partnering with Ripple of One. Each week, we also collect non-perishable food for the Clemson Community Cares Food Bank. You may give also by going online to the UUFC website and using the donate button. There you will see options for paying your pledges and donating towards the organizations that we partner with. Thank you for your generosity.
And thank you again for your generosity. During our service each week, we set aside some time to share our joys and concerns, those things that are worth celebrating and those that we need love and compassion and a reminder that we are not alone. And as I share each of these joys and concerns, I ask for you to take a moment to hold them. And I've asked Dave if he'll place a stone in this bowl representing our shared vessel. I have a joy from Sarah Summers Hoskin that we are thankful for the great response our wildlife rescue volunteer group had yesterday at the Bosch Family Day. Is that right? Have a sorrow from Elaine Faithful for the mass shooting at St. Helena's Island. 4 were killed, 20 were injured. Also a shooting in Anderson County. Yeah. Have a joy from Audrey Lanford, celebrating National Coming Out Day on October 11th and Indigenous Peoples Day on October 12th. Today.
It's actually tomorrow. I wrote down the wrong page.
Yes, okay. Yes. Paula Husenfeld shares a joy and a concern for flooding in Jorge's hometown impacted the whole street. Yes. And the joy that no one died. Yes. That is quite a joy. Have a joy from Holly that she was visiting Carol Ward and Marguerite Kirsch at Clemson Downs Healthcare, and they enjoy visitors. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I have a joy from the welcoming congregation team that we were delighted with the good turnout and participation with Friday's dinner and discussion. Our efforts towards UUFC's recertification continues. We're pretty much there, so stay tuned. And have a joy from Meg Williamson that our small grounds crew got a lot done. Many thanks. Yes, yes. And we add another stone for all of those joys and concerns that remain quiet and tender upon our hearts today. We'll sit with just a moment of silence to hold these. Now, if you would join in singing, any of our kids that would like to go with Kathy and Karen to their religious exploration spaces by singing Go Now in Peace. They get to play with Jenga blocks with questions about our UU values today. So don't be too jealous. So in the next several minutes, we're going to have 3 things kind of back to back without big transition pieces. I'm going to offer a prayer. I've asked Dave to share a poem that is quite like a meditation as well. And then you'll be invited to remain in your seats and sing the meditation on breathing. And the words will be on the slides at that time. And if you know the words, you can always keep your eyes closed in a continued spirit of meditation. And we're going to just kind of sing it a few times until it feels like we're maybe ready to stop. So, with all of that said, I invite you into a spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of community, we name the truth. There are people who make love feel impossible, who push every button we didn't know we had, who seem almost destined to test the very limits of our humanity. Our hearts contract around these relationships like fists protecting old wounds that never quite healed. We itemize their faults, build cases for our justified anger, forget that they too were once children and needed tenderness. Grant us eyes to see past the armor to the wounds beneath. Help us recognize that cruelty is often pain that has nowhere else to go. That the hardest people to love are frequently those most desperately in need of it. This does not mean accepting harm or abandoning boundaries, but may we find the fierce grace to hold both protection and compassion, remembering that even the most difficult souls are traveling their own mysterious journey toward healing. When love feels impossible, help us choose dignity anyway. When understanding fails, let kindness remain.
This poem is by Steve Garnos Holmes, called Breathing Compassion. Breathe in. Breathe deeply. Breathe in love. It is love. All this that surrounds you perfectly, touches you perfectly, holds you, contains you, fills you perfectly. You breathe it. You move through it. Everything you see through it. It's given, breathed into you, the breath of love from divine lungs that breathe everything, that have been breathing from all eternity, breathing the one spirit we all breathe. Breathe it in deeply, this love. Let it fill you, enliven you, change you, and breathe out.
Amen.
That is one of my favorite pieces when I need to just reset, to ground. And if you've sung it enough, it's easy enough to remember the words. Sometimes I need the reminder to breathe out love. And in the world that we are living in, that can certainly be a challenge. This month, October, our theme is cultivating compassion. So I think it's important for us to start out by thinking about what compassion means. It's our way of understanding how we might cultivate that more. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, the word compassion is a sympathetic consciousness of others' distress with the desire to alleviate it. So this is different than empathy or sympathy. When you recognize someone else's pain, or you might share an understanding of that pain. But compassion moves from thinking about it or being with it to action, to moving it out beyond who we are, recognizing it, and then if we can, doing something about it. And, because y'all know I'm a fan of the both and, we sometimes have to ask people which they need, especially if they're close to us in our lives. Sometimes somebody really just needs you to be there and to listen without trying to fix it. And sometimes there's a point in life where we really need somebody to step in and do something. Maybe that's as simple as a hug or a visit. Maybe that's picking up the tab for someone else. Through it, but that moment of kindness, of reaching down and picking that up and reminding the parent that they're doing a good job. Because overloaded and need to be reminded that they're doing a good job. None of y'all parents have ever experienced that, right? Yeah, didn't think so. And while compassion and empathy are different things, while love and compassion have some differences, they are inextricably linked. Because without one, we wouldn't necessarily be able to exhibit and hold the other. Love often focuses on our close most, whether it is romantic, familial, whether chosen or by birth, communities or friendships. A couple of times. Sometimes we might have folks that come into the social hall that are a little more standoffish. Some folks that would like to make friends, but that are a little apprehensive. Because sometimes, have y'all ever noticed that we group together that we know somebody and we want to start a conversation with them, that we haven't seen them in a while, so we need to catch up. And have you ever tried to break into a conversation that's already well underway? So we could show a little bit of compassion to the folks that stand on the perimeter by themselves, by noticing. Maybe they need to step out into the hall or to the library because the sound is too much in the social hall. Anybody here with hearing aids have the issue that I do of it being too loud sometimes? Sometimes it's a little overwhelming. So being aware that people might have different needs is a way of our showing compassion. Pulling somebody that we see into a conversation or asking them if it would be helpful for us to step out into the hallway to have such a conversation. And sometimes our acts of compassion aren't ones that others realize. I saw a post on social media earlier this week, and I was like, oh my gosh, that seems like such a good story. I should share it with you all. So and the person who created the post said that the sign read, "Learning to drive stick. Please be patient." And the person driving behind them realized a few things after reading that. How they might have been impatient because the person was going slow or might have stalled out, getting frustrated that they couldn't get to where they were going as quickly as they wanted. But reading that sign slowed them down. And they said, oh, that can be really hard. Let me make sure I don't crowd them. Now, that might seem like a simple thing. And we don't always have big signs that say, I'm going through something. So, having an opportunity for someone else to recognize it is helpful. To have somebody else see it from the outside. Maybe it's that your shoulders are drooping or even have some tears, and somebody says, hey, I'm here. I might not know you, but are you okay? And maybe that's just sitting with someone, an act of care. Maybe that is offering a hug or to walk with them to somewhere they need to go. Our understanding of compassion is often what we think of when we face outward, but we might not think of it as compassion. So a lot of different religious traditions have this idea of compassion or charity that they offer. Here at UUFC, we have 4 benevolences that we typically contribute to, plus a couple that we do on 5th Sundays. But we have money that is contributed in our offering plates or through online giving to Ripple of One, to Clemson Childhood Development Center, to Clemson Community Care, and to Habitat for Humanity. And then you might have noticed that we collect food in this wagon. And sometimes it's overflowing. And then once it's full, somebody takes it in their car and delivers it to Clemson Community Care. We also have a group of folks, including Dave and a few others, Kathy and her husband Gordon sometimes, that go and help with Habitat for Humanity, helping people build their homes here in our local community. Several of you have helped with preparing meals for our daily rest. Thank you. My brain blipped out for a second. I have it written down, but I walked away from my notes. So these are all small ways that are acts of compassion that others might not know where it came from or why you gave. I think it's linked to our values. What do y'all think? Connected to our values? Yeah. So, our value of equity calls us to recognize that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. Now, some of these words might be familiar from our first and second principle, and they've been combined in this value statement. But you had the first principle that said the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and the second principle that recognized justice, equity, and compassion in the world. If we recognize this equity, not just those we know directly, that the compassion extends not just in these walls, but beyond into the world as we live out those values. So many years ago, I was new to Unitarian Universalism, and I heard a couple of things, and maybe some we believe in deeds, not creeds. Few of you. So the idea, instead of having something explicit that how we are in community together, and that it's through our actions, the way we show up in the world. Now, there's another one that I've heard repeated often, is that as you use, we pray with our feet. That means that instead of praying on our knees, hoping things get better, that we go out to rallies and marches and show up in different ways, that we give to our benevolences, that we support causes that are important to us. And while this is often translated into the area of social justice, that's just one of the active components. There's also a social action that is more focused on care for others, not focusing on all that is going on in the world, because we know there is so much. And we need to focus sometimes on the things we can most immediately impact. living out compassion can be challenging at times when you don't agree with somebody, when you are actually in direct opposition to what someone else believes. I like that prayer earlier that said recognizing that someone was a child once. And that pain often creates more pain or hurt that is expounded upon the world, and it doesn't excuse it. But sometimes we can cut people a little more slack in certain areas without it hurting us. It's important for us to all recognize that we are part of the human family, that we are bound up with one another, that we must care for one another in whatever form that looks like, whether it is love or compassion, empathy or sympathy. There are all ways for us to connect to each other. And so I want to take a few minutes and ask you a question. And after you have a moment to think about it, I've asked Dave if he'll come around with a mic. Tried to make sure I left a little bit more time in this service than I did last time that we did something like this. But I'd like you to think about these. It's a kind of a two-part question. What are the ways in which you have experienced compassion that has been extended to you by someone else? Something that was them showing you compassion that made an impact on you, whether they know it or not. Or the reverse of that, is there a time that, like the story of the driver, you recognized how something brought alive that compassion in you and how you were able to share that? And after a couple of minutes of thinking about the compassion you've received or that you have shared, I invite you to share briefly so that others can share a little bit about that experience.
I have two friends that are legally blind, so one thing I do for them is drive them around. Mm-hmm. But out of gratitude for the fact that I can still see well enough to drive, and they can't. But there's one particular compassionate act I do for a friend who shares my political values, but her daughter and son-in-law who handle her finances don't. So I have to write her checks for contributions to politics. That's an act of compassion.
Thank you, Holly. Audrey and then Elaine walked in, so I'm assuming she wants to share too.
So the first time I ever flew on a plane across the country, I was coming from California to South Carolina, and I had a layover in Denver at the international airport. And the next morning when I went to board my flight to South Carolina, I was wandering around the airport, or no, it was the day I landed, the night I landed. I was looking for the train to where I could get to my shuttle. And I was very confused because Denver is a very big airport. And this woman saw me, and she saw that I was alone and looking confused. And she helped me find the train. She rode the train with me and walked me out to where I
4 years ago. And it's been about 5 years now. But anyway, I was missing having a dog. And I've tried several times to bring a dog back into my life. And, oh God, I'm going to get teary-eyed. Anyway, I was not able to keep the sweet dogs who came into my life. And finally I had to come to the realization that I could not have a dog. And I just am so grateful to the people who took my sweet ones and gave them a good home, including you, Mary.
Thank you, Elaine.
Audrey reminded me of travel stories, and my husband and I just went to Great Britain, and we went to England and Scotland. And when we were in Edinburgh, we had to navigate the bus system and try to get around. And so many of the people there were so helpful. They'd come up and they'd go, "Are you okay?" That was the standard thing they said. "Do you need help?" basically. And they would help us get around. So it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just grateful in the last few months of my mother's life, there were so many people who did little things, opening a door, or like holding a door, or allowing me to park somewhere so that my mother could walk a half a block instead of 3 blocks. Or particularly there was one doctor, she went crazy one day, and Mom was convinced that, her toe was sore, and that she just said every nasty thing about the doctor to her face. And the doctor was just so nice and was willing to swab a little alcohol on her toe while we talked about the other issues my mother was going through. And I just wanted to be thankful that it doesn't take a big act. It can be a tiny act.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Thank you, Glenn.
Hold the mic close, okay. I don't know, I was just inspired to share with this topic. So I am very grateful and appreciative of the compassion my great aunt gave to me as a child. I was born into significant adversity, and my aunt, who was in New York City, decided that a way to help me and my sister was to send us books so that we could read and learn and understand the world beyond where we were. And that had a tremendous impact on me, and I'm very grateful for that, and it helped me become a more thoughtful person, aware of things beyond my difficult circumstances. And I always try to pay it forward. Currently, we moved here from the mountains. We were deep, deep, deep in the mountains, very deep. And it's very interesting, the people up there. And I discovered that a young man who went to school with my daughters was kind of trapped up there. And they live off grid. And he is expected to provide the labor for the farm that they use for food. And his parents don't want to let him go, and he wants to go because they need his back and his strength. So I gave him the option to come here and do some work to earn some money so that he could put one foot in front of the other, because I know what it's like to be trapped. And I know what it's like to be in a situation you wouldn't want. So I'm very grateful. He comes and he's so appreciative of electricity and to be able to go somewhere that's not 45 minutes away and to not have to break his back doing things that he didn't necessarily ask for. And I'm still trying to help him now, but I don't know, I just felt moved to share that because I've got that going on right now with this young man who's a fine young man, and very appreciative. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And then let Wanda be our last one to share.
So I've realized recently something very perturbing to me, that some people are capable of empathy. They understand your problem, but they are not capable of compassion. They don't actually know how you feel. They understand you have a problem. And I'm not quite sure if this is objective, but it is, to me, perturbing.
Thank you. For all of you that shared, and anybody that didn't get a chance to share, I invite you to share with somebody during our social time, maybe somebody you don't talk to very often, as a way to engage more deeply. As I come to a close, I want to reflect briefly back on our opening hymn, Spirit of Life. I must admit that at one point I got a little tired of hearing it because there was a congregation that I was part of that sang it every single Sunday as part of their joys and concerns. But there's something I read by a colleague about this song that kind of bothered them for a different reason. And that it focuses on me instead of we or us. And she made the recommendation of singing it a second time, which we didn't do today, but maybe we will in the future, of singing one version of Spirit of Life, Come Unto Me, and then singing it again as Spirit of Life, Come Unto Us. Transitioning from that focus on me as an individual to the we of community and the care that we can offer one another, to find those stirrings of compassion. Siloed into all of our individual places in life. We can encourage one another to live into our values, to call one another into a deeper understanding of compassion. May we create space where we can exercise that heart muscle, that care, that compassion, not just in this space, but to carry it out into the world. May it be so, may we make it so, and blessed be. Now, our closing hymn is one that may or may not be familiar, and it has updated lyrics by Jason Shelton. So instead of the words standing on the side of love, he changed them to answering the call of love back in 2016. So if you look in the hymnal, it says standing on the side of love. If you look at the slides, it says answering the call of love. Now, if you get carried away in one version or the other, just understand that y'all might be looking at two different things. And that is okay. That is kind of the beauty of being in community. So I invite you to rise in body, mind, or spirit, wherever you are and whatever is comfortable for your body, to join in singing, answering the call of love. thank y'all for trying on that song. I know it's a little bit more complicated and where you come in on the music. I do have to say I like the hymnals for songs like that because I can kind of follow along, but then we have different lyrics on that one. And so I ask you to show yourselves some compassion and know that we did a really great job doing it together because we care in this community and we know that we are called to answer the call to love. May you go in peace and return in love.